Mr. Anthony Gillingham, a man of routine, found himself staring out of a train window at an unfamiliar landscape. He had expected the familiar red brick of his destination, but instead was met with a quaint countryside station, bathed in the golden glow of the late afternoon sun. His pocket watch confirmed his suspicions. He had, in a moment of absent-mindedness, disembarked a stop too early. "Dash it all," he muttered, "now I'll be frightfully late."
The station master, a portly man with a walrus moustache, chuckled at Mr. Gillingham's predicament. "Looking for the Red House, are you, sir?" "That's a good mile and a half that way," he said, pointing down a winding country lane. "But don't you worry, sir. Betty Calladine, the housemaid, walks this way every Tuesday. She'll be along soon, and a right chatty one she is."
Mr. Gillingham thanked the station master, a tad bewildered by the man's familiarity, and settled down on a bench to wait. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle, a stark contrast to the coal dust of London. This unexpected detour was already shaping up to be rather peculiar.
As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the lane, a young woman with rosy cheeks and a bright smile approached.
"You wouldn't be Mr. Gillingham by any chance?" she asked. "Betty Calladine at your service. Mr. Ablett sent word you might be arriving on this train." And with a cheerful wave, she led the bemused Mr. Gillingham towards the unknown and the Red House.
Mark Ablett, the master of the Red House, was a man shrouded in an air of mystery. Whispers followed him like shadows, murmurs of a turbulent youth and a past better left undisturbed. Born into a life of privilege, young Mark had been a whirlwind of mischief, a thorn in the side of his affluent family. Tales of his escapades, from daring pranks to reckless wagers, were legendary amongst the townsfolk. Yet somewhere along the way, the reckless boy had transformed. He inherited the family fortune and, to everyone's surprise, settled into the role of a respectable landowner. The Red House, once a stage for his youthful antics, became a place of quiet solitude. He rarely ventured out, preferring the company of his books and his easel to the clamour of society. Despite his reclusive nature, Mark Ablett was a generous patron of the arts. He supported struggling artists, funded local charities, and was known for his quiet acts of kindness. He remained an enigma, a puzzle that intrigued and fascinated all who crossed his path. The whispers never truly faded, merely softened, transforming into hushed murmurs of curiosity and speculation. The Red House, a rambling Victorian mansion set amidst sprawling lawns and ancient oaks, was home to a curious collection of individuals.
There was Major Rumbold, a retired military man with a booming laugh and an endless supply of war stories. His days were spent polishing his medals, tending to his roses, and engaging in friendly banter with anyone who crossed his path.
Then there was Bill Beverley, a young artist with a mop of unruly hair and a soulful gaze. He was a distant cousin of Mark Ablett and a permanent fixture at the Red House. His days consumed by his canvases and his nights filled with music and poetry.
Miss Norris, Mark's stern but efficient housekeeper, ruled the domestic domain with an iron fist, ensuring the smooth running of the household.
And then there was Matthew Cayley, Mark's cousin and closest confidant. A quiet, unassuming man, he managed Mark's affairs with unwavering loyalty and discretion. His presence was a calming influence on the often volatile atmosphere of the Red House.
Each resident in their own way contributed to the air of mystery that hung over the grand old house. The morning dawned bright and clear at the Red House. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colours onto the polished floors. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen, mingling with the sweet scent of roses from the garden.
Ah, nothing like a good cup of coffee to start the day. Did I ever tell you about the time I was stationed in India? Fascinating place, really.
Major Rumbold, newspaper in hand, held court at the breakfast table, regaling anyone who would listen with tales of his military exploits. Bill Beverley, his eyes barely open, sketched absent-mindedly in a notebook, while Miss Norris bustled about, ensuring that everything was in its proper place.
That's quite a story, Major. I'm just trying to get this sketch right.
The tranquility of the morning was shattered by the arrival of the post. Amongst the usual bills and invitations lay a letter addressed to Mark Ablett in unfamiliar handwriting. As he read the short message, a look of shock, quickly replaced by icy calm, settled on his face.
What's that you've got there, Ablett?
"Gentlemen," he announced, his voice devoid of emotion, "my brother Robert will be joining us for a visit." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken tension. Mr. Gillingham, guided by the talkative Betty Calladine, finally arrived at the gates of the Red House. The setting sun cast long shadows from the imposing structure, making it appear larger than life. He couldn't help but feel a sense of unease as he approached the house.
Don't you worry, sir. Mr. Ablett, he's a bit of a recluse, but he's a good man. A bit odd, mind you, but good.
Her words did little to soothe Mr. Gillingham's nerves. As they walked up the steps, the front door swung open, revealing a tall, gaunt figure silhouetted against the light from within.
Well, this is it then.
"Ah, Gillingham!" a voice boomed from the doorway. "So glad you could join us. Come in, come in. We've been expecting you." Mr. Gillingham, feeling a curious mix of curiosity and trepidation, stepped across the threshold and into the dimly lit hallway of the Red House.